In today's biased news, he did everything right and they indicted him. Belarus takes delivery of Russian nukes. And Chinese diplomacy continues to win allies.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Yesterday, former President Trump pleaded not guilty in a Miami court, as he currently faces 37 counts of mishandling classified information. These charges include national security files on U.S. weapons capabilities that Trump kept at his Florida estate, which he refused to return. Other charges include sharing sensitive information with people that had no security clearance. It could be as long as a year before a proper trial occurs. Trump could leave court without a cash bond, travel restrictions, or other conditions. His lawyers are expected to attempt to dismiss the case, possibly on the basis that the files had been declassified prior to him taking them. Trump supporters gathered outside the court to meet the former president, with many echoing the belief that the trial is politically motivated in an attempt to prevent him from running for a second term. He subsequently returned to New Jersey to be greeted by more crowds in a show of support. Currently the leading Republican candidate for the presidency, Trump will still be able to run if he is convicted, and he still maintains the support of the Republican Party. This is yet another episode in the theater of American electoral politics, in which political and media energy is consumed by efforts that have zero effect on the daily lives of Americans, who are currently living through an inflationary crisis, reduced economic prospects, tightening labor legislation, and anti-union efforts. Whether Biden, Trump, or anyone else wins, the entrenched system is one made by and for the capitalist ruling class. A system where only they are guaranteed a win regardless of the electoral result. In Nigeria, last Friday, the new president suspended and arrested Godwin Emefiele, the country's central bank governor. Specific reasons for the arrest weren't provided, except for, quote, an ongoing investigation of his office and planned reforms in the financial sector of the economy. Emefiele was the second longest-serving governor of the bank, and was regarded as one of the most powerful people in the country. Many experts believe that the ex-governor's penchant for wielding that power to influence the government was his undoing. In India, police found 9 bodies early on Wednesday. These deaths were likely caused by the latest clashes between members of rival ethnic groups in India's northeastern state of Manipur. In Belarus, President Lukashenko has claimed that his country has received delivery of Russian tactical nuclear weapons, which he says are 3 times as powerful as the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This marks Russia's first deployment of such warheads outside its borders since the Soviet Union's illegal dissolution. Belarus borders 3 NATO member countries, and Lukashenko sees the nuclear deployment as a deterrent against potential aggressors. He has accused the West of trying to topple his government, and believes that possessing nuclear weapons will protect his country. In diplomatic news, the Chinese premier and the president of the Republic of Honduras met in Beijing, with both parties pledging to enhance cooperation. The Chinese side noted that in March of this year, the 2 countries' leaders made the important political decision to establish diplomatic relations, marking a new chapter in bilateral ties. He said China greatly appreciates the firm commitment Honduras has made to abide by the One China principle, and its choice to stand on the right side of history. The Lebanese parliament is set to meet today to choose a new president, a process which has already failed 11 times since 2022. To make matters worse, for years now, Lebanon's currency has been virtually useless, with most of the country's urban citizenry fully switching to the US dollar. Lebanon's complex, confessional political system and the lack of a clear, unified opposition in parliament have made naming a new leader incredibly difficult, as the parliamentary capitalist electoral model continues to fail the country. In Greece, at least 17 people have died and more than 100 were rescued after a fishing boat carrying immigrants and refugees capsized and sank off the southern coast. Tragedies like these will only become more common as the crises of capitalism and imperialism accelerate, causing mass suffering as a consequence of imperialist wars, environmental disaster, and systemic oppression. And in positive news of the day, 4 young children have been found alive after more than a month wandering the Amazon, the rainforest, not the corporation. According to Colombian President Gustavo Petro, they survived like children of the jungle. He went on to say, "They're learning from indigenous families, and their learning of living in the jungle has saved them." The president broke the news on Friday, after announcing on Twitter that the children had been found 40 days after they went missing following a plane crash. That's all for today. We'll be back day after tomorrow with more news. If you'd like to see episodes with more in-depth analysis, consider supporting the show on Patreon so we can grow and expand.